Hey everyone, welcome back to Spartan V for all your hair system needs. Today we're going to be talking about salon slash hairdressers versus self-installation. So I'm going to go through the pros, the cons and the cost. So it'll help you make that decision on what you can do when it comes to getting a hair system. As always, if you enjoy my videos, please like and subscribe. Okay, so we're going to start off first of all with the pros of each. So I'm going to put a little list either side here, do it one by one, and you can see. So hairdressers, pros. It's easy for you. You don't have to do anything yourself. It's all done for you. A big pro really in a lot of people's cases. So that's number one. Number two, less time consuming. So obviously when you do your own hair system, you do have to take in consideration the time. So if you're not used to doing it, it could take you a good few hours to get it right. So something from the salons, they'll get it done a lot quicker. It's a lot easier. Number three, you've got an experienced person doing your hair system. So basically it means someone installing it, cutting it and blending it in. Because there's a lot of barbers out there that don't even know hair systems exist, but the ones that do are specialists in those fields. So that is a big bonus when it comes to this. So yeah, that's what we're working with on those three pros of hairdresser slash salon. Right, let's move on to self-maintenance and self-installation. Pros. Okay, the biggest pro of this one, cheaper. Cheaper, cheaper, cheaper. That is one thing it is always going to be. If you're doing it yourself, it is a lot cheaper. So that is the number one pro. Number two, more customizable. So even though salons can, do a very specific design for yourself, when you learn to do it yourself, you can start being more customizable, say with your templates, with your hairstyles and everything like that. I find that, you can really play with it, because if you've got the time, then, it's something you can do and you can play around with. There are risks, but, in the end, I find that they do pay off. Number three, so good sense of achievement. It's something that when you learn to do this, and if you learn to do it well, it is such a good feeling, because you can end up learning. It's like a hobby in a way. You learn something brand new, and this is a really good sense of achievement. Once you get it on, you get your hairline right, you get your style right, you feel good. So it's not just feeling good with the hair, it's feeling good that you've done it yourself. Okay, so let's move on to the cons. So I'm going to go same sides again. So the hairdressers slash salons. Con number one, it's expensive. It always is going to be more expensive when you're going somewhere that provides a service rather than doing something yourself. So that is something to really take into consideration when you're looking to have a hair system. It can be very expensive, but I'll be revealing all the costs towards the end of the video, so stay tuned. I'll have a whole list of the costs on average, what you're going to be looking to pay. But yeah, number one, it's expensive. Number two, it's the travel. So hair systems aren't massive yet around the world. Quite big in the US, it's getting a lot bigger in the UK, but you sometimes will have to travel quite a distance to go and find a specialist hair salon. So if you live around the London area, it's not too bad, there's a few around there, but you're still going to have to travel. It's not like you can just go down the road to your local barbers. It is, you're going to have to find these specific places that have, that supply hair systems and fit them and do everything for you. Number three, you are completely reliant on the hairdresser slash salon. If you don't do anything yourself and you don't want to do anything yourself, you will have to keep visiting them. So as an example, your hair system glue breaks down, you start getting lifts in different places. If you don't want to do it, you've got to make sure the stylist is free for you to go into and see. It might be that they're blocked out for the rest of the week, so you know, so you might have to push your hair down and hide it so you don't get any lifts. Be a bit careful. That is can be a big con. So it's something, you know, that's very good to learn yourself, which a lot of people do when they have lifts, but you know, something again to take into consideration. Okay, so let's look at the cons for doing it all yourself. Number one, maintenance, fitting and everything in between. So this equates to time. So if it's something you're not used to, it can take you a long time to, you know, be able to do everything. So just an example, you're taking it off, putting all the tape on, all the glue, do all the cleaning, maintenance, making sure you're lined up, getting it all put on your head. From that point, that sometimes, when you're brand new, can take you, it sounds a bit long, 2 to 3 hours. That can take you that long, because you know, you have to get used to how all the materials work, how to take off the glue, clean it properly, be confident with the installation, do the template. So there's a lot of things behind it. So that is part of the con from doing it yourself, is time. You will need to make sure you dedicate time to it every 1 to 2 weeks and being able to maintain this yourself. Number two, so if you make a mistake, this will probably be harder to deal with by yourself than if you were with a salon. Salon will be able to, you know, easily fix any issues like that. You know, once you become, you know, very knowledgeable and you're able to have that confidence with hair system and everything in between, you probably will be able to deal with this. But if you're not very confident, any mistakes you make, there can be an issue. So one of them being, which can be a big mistake, if you go to a barber, they're not sure, you know, how to blend in everything, they cut it a bit short, you're a bit stuck. And that's when you would probably need to get another hair system. So there are those risks there. Number three, finding a barber that will cut your hair system in to blend with your bio hair. So again, this can be tricky. I think this is down to a confidence point of view. So if you're willing to call any barbers around your local areas, tell them what you've got. So I've got a hair system, please could you just give it a go, try cutting it in, explain it to them. A lot of the time they will be confident enough and say, yeah, we'll give it a go, and they're actually quite interested. But sometimes you will get people who'll be like, no, we can't risk it, because you know, if we do cut too much off, then obviously it's not going to grow back. So that is a con. You know, you won't have a specialist necessarily around you that will be able to cut the hair system, and if you do, then you're going to be, you know, looking at a higher price if you want to go to the salon that specifically deals with it. So a lot of salons now, if you have your own hair system, they will sometimes charge a price if you want them to fit it. So you could cut it and everything yourself and go to them to fit it, but they will charge a higher price. So you know, that is a con from doing it yourself, is finding a barber that will be able to cut the hair in properly for you. Okay, so let's move on to costs. So right, in this next section I'm going to be looking at the actual hair system itself. So what you would charge, what you'd be charged by a salon compared to buying the system yourself. So I've had a look at an average, and I've tried to go, you know, have a look at many different costs around a lot of different salons and hairdressers to get a good idea of what you're going to be expecting. So the cost for a hair system or a salon on average in the UK will be about £550. So that will include the hair system and the fitting and everything else in between. And you know, that's an average. I've seen some that are less than that, and I've seen some that are higher. I've seen some that have gone to an extreme. So places are charging about £800–900 for a hair system. I don't think there's going to be any difference in the quality compared to what you're paying from a cheaper place, and I'd find it hard to justify on that level someone charging that much. So I'd say £550, you're looking at an average. And with the hair salons, because they're going to want to have the most realistic system for your head. So that means it's going to be, well, most of the time, a lot of them will do a poly base. It'll probably be like between a 0.2 to a 0.6 to get the most realistic hairline on the system. And in that case, the thinner base you have, then the less amount of time it's going to last. So you're going to be looking at around 2 to 3 months. So you're possibly looking at around 3 on average to 4 hair systems from a salon or a hairdresser's per year. Whereas if you're doing it yourself, you're going to be looking at around, if you were to go to eBay and get it really cheap, you're looking at around about between 170 to 200 to get a half decent one for quite cheap. Otherwise, you can look at some of the other places. It can be about £250. So I don't think most places would charge much more than that when you're just buying the hair system from stock. So which isn't too much of a bad price. And if you are going to go on with a slightly thicker base, so maybe a 0.6 to a max 0.8 on a poly base, or if you want to get like a fine lace system, then you could be looking easily up to about 5 to 6 months on it lasting. And so 2 systems a year, you're looking about £500 for that one. So you've got like the 550 to 250, so £500 versus 1650. So 2 different costs there, quite big initially. So going on to the next part of the cost is the refitting. So if you go into a salon, again, looking at averages, it really varies. I've seen some places say around about £80, I've seen other places about 300, but on average, what I can see is around about the £175 mark. So that's taking it off, cleaning, putting all tape and glue stuff on, shaving your head, putting it back on, and making sure it's all blended in. So if I'm honest, you would probably need to do this at least at the 3-week mark to a month mark. So if you're looking that over a year, that cost is going to be quite sort of expensive. And then we start looking at doing it yourself. So you're looking at really zero. You're just paying for the materials. So you're saving a massive amount of costs on that part. So just to break down the materials as well, and what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go whoop, and display the materials there just so you can see a visual image of these materials. So to break down the cost of all those, so this is including like the shampoo or stuff to put in your hair, like wax or anything like that. This is some of the essentials that you're looking at. So if you're doing it yourself, I put an average cost of £57 to buy that. And again, just an average, a lot of this stuff's going to last you a long time. So you're looking at sort of like twice a year. So basically around about £114 a year for that. So you could do all that yourself. Again, for the salon, they do, obviously if you're going in for a refit, then that's all going to be part of it. But for like the lifts and everything like that, they will sometimes say you need like a package of materials. So, and obviously because of the up cost of supplying that to you, you could be looking at anything from about sort of £100 for that package they supply, and you could be looking at 2 to 3 times a year. So again, you've got that cost. So an overall cost average of both. So hair system by salon / hairdressers, you're looking at between £3,000 to £4,000 a year. That is going to be average. You might be able to get it a little bit less, but I think on average that's what you're going to be looking at. Whereas if you're doing it by yourself, I've calculated around about £650 a year. So what does this all mean? Am I saying one's better than the other? No. What I'm saying is I think a lot of this comes down to time and money. So if you have the money and you have some extra time, salon might be the best one for you. They can look after, do everything for you. Don't have to worry too much about it. The only thing you really have to worry about is if you get some lifts. But if you're booked in to go regularly, then salon is going to be your option. But if it's down to money, you really want the hair system, but you know you can't afford those costs, then it's going to be the self-install maintenance route. And scary at first, but once you learn it, it becomes so much easier. So you know, there you go, that's a breakdown of how it all works. So you've got those two big price brackets, you've got to think about the time, think about what is the best option for you. So you know, that's my video today. I hope you enjoyed it, and as always, plenty more content on the way.